joining me here today. My name is Jase Takeya. It is episode 1 of this podcast. Enjoy some of the stories that we'll be putting together for you. We got a guy during the holidays. His name is Stanward Oshiro. I finally got in touch with him. He does this amazing light show there in HPP. We're going to hear his story right now as we talk to Stanward Oshiro of Puna Lights. Stanward, tell us a little bit about Puna Lights.
Puna Lights is a synchronized Christmas light show that I use my house as the backdrop or the canvas, where there's over 23,000 individual pixels laid out on the house as well as on props in the yard. And it's synchronized to all different types of Christmas music and some not so Christmassy music like your latest pop songs. This spectacle is located out in the Hawaiian Paradise Park subdivision in Puna off of 18th Avenue. Right off of Makuu Drive, you turn right onto 18th Avenue and you go all the way to the dead end. You're going to see us with our reflective safety vests directing traffic. And the light show typically runs between 7 to 9 p.m. each night for the month of December. We do extend show times when traffic does get heavy. Typically, we also extend the show times when public school gets out and end at 10 p.m.
I know that this light show that you put on, it's actually free, right? You don't charge the public for this, huh?
Yes, will always be free, and people can stay as long as they want. I know I get a lot of questions on, do they have to come at a certain time or do they have to leave at a certain time? You can stay in your car and you tune your radio to a FM frequency 106.7 FM, which is an empty frequency that normally doesn't have a radio station, but I have a small little FM transmitter to broadcast the music over so you can listen to the audio from the comfort of your car.
You also collect like canned foods for like the food,
yes,
a food drive?
I collect donations, non-perishable foods, as well as monies that all go towards the Hawaii food basket. So it stays all on island, and none of the donations leave the island.
What kind of background do you have? You know, for somebody who has so many lights like this.
My degree that I have is electrical engineer, but I guess that's the roots of all the interests in this techie type of hobby. I'm that nerd or a geek that you would typically see in the electronics classroom if there is an electronics classroom in your high school. But that's where all this passion and interest come from.
So when you first started it, what year did you kind of first start Puna Light Show? Or how did it come about? Like, how does a person say, hey, I want to throw lights on the house and I just want to invite the community to come by and to enjoy it. But how did that start off? Was it an idea or something that inspired you?
I actually like decorating for Christmas. I mean, even in the dorm that we were living in at Manoa during Christmas, we actually bought a fresh tree, put that in the living room. We were actually in one of the apartments there on campus, and then we would decorate that one little window that everyone could see. We would decorate it with Christmas lights, and it kind of all started from there. And here, when me and my wife first bought our home in 2007, we actually decorated the outside of our home with just static lights, you know, the lights that you would buy from Walmart, Home Depot, Target. But the lights didn't do anything. It would just stay constantly on, or it would twinkle or whatever. And then one of my friends from Honolulu sent me a video on YouTube where the guy had the synchronized lights with the music and whatnot. And I was like, oh, I want to try and do that. So in early 2008, and that's when I kind of was researching on the computer and figured out, there's an easy way to actually synchronize the lights that you buy from the store. That was the first year that Puna Lights ever became something, was in 2008. And somehow the Tribune Herald got wind of what we had here. So they actually came down and did an article on us and took some pictures and whatnot for the newspaper.
Oh, man, I remember that in 2008. That was a long time ago, yeah. But I distinctly remember that article that they had there in the paper. And for somebody like you, an electrical engineer, it's easy, but I guess for most people, not everybody can do it. It takes a special person and just a certain amount of knowledge to put on a show like this. Yeah?
Oh, yeah. It helps to have this background, the tech-related background, not necessarily engineering, but it does help in terms of doing the hobby. But I am blessed that I'm able to meet a whole different array of people that come into this hobby, through the internet, through Facebook, because there is a huge following on doing Christmas lights synchronizing and stuff like that. There's young people, there's all the way up to the elderly that do this, and then there's both men and women that do it, as well as you have business people, you have people in the medical field that are into this hobby. So it's a hobby for, I guess, anyone, as long as you have the motivation and the desire to do it. I guess that's probably what helps the most, because this hobby takes a lot of time.
When you first decorated your house, before it became Puna lights, was it just like basic, like you'd see at everybody's house? Is that how you first started?
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't that many lights either, because we live on a dead end side of Paradise Park, so there's no through traffic. It's pretty much just the neighbors that would see your lights, and several of the other neighbors. We all put up the icicle lights on the gutters, the typical kind of stuff, lights that go around the windows, some lighted candy canes that are in the middle of your lawn, that sort of thing. It was just a very small, typical Christmas home decoration kind of thing. With this hobby, it just, you don't compete with anyone else. You compete with yourself. You're like, oh, I want to make it better than last year. So you try to add more things to it, like, oh, let me add a big Christmas tree in the front, that sort of thing. Let me add another one because I only had one last year, et cetera, that sort of stuff. So you're basically competing with yourself. You're trying to outdo yourself every year. You're trying to outdo the year before, and it just grows. This hobby just grows and grows and grows.
For the first year too, how many people showed up at your property to kind of watch this show?
Before Tribune Herald, it would only be word of mouth, so only maybe like one or two of my coworkers who lived in HPP came by to watch, and then I think I spoke to one of my high school classmates. He came by, and maybe 3 or 4 people came.
Wow.
Most nights wouldn't have anybody. It would just be, I'm sure my neighbors are probably looking like, what's going on? His lights are flickering and flashing and fading in and fading out. Or maybe they thought I had problems with my electrical. I don't know.
And then after the Tribune Herald did this story, how many people started to show up to your property to watch this?
Dozens a night. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I wouldn't be able to give you an accurate count, because the first 2 years of doing Puna Lights, 2008 and 2009, me and my family, we were kind of like hiding in the house. We wouldn't set foot outside. We wouldn't turn on the lights in the living room, because I felt that the lights on in the living room, even with the drapes, it would kind of distract the people from the light show. So we were kind of hiding during I think it was like maybe 6:30 to 10 p.m. We would be hiding. We can hear the people driving back and forth outside, the occasional honk or whatever, but it was only in 2009 that one of my neighbors complained about the traffic during the light show, that they wouldn't be able to get through. I don't want to be a bad neighbor, so my wife told me, you got to be out there to kind of keep the peace and make sure traffic is flowing. People can park here and there and whatnot. 2010 was the first year we opened up our lot to park cars in our yard, so we would reduce the amount of cars that were actually on the road. And that's when I was out there directing traffic and whatnot.
And you said that you and your family in the beginning used to hide in the house. So what was it like when you first told your wife, or at that time if you had your full family with your kids and all of that? How was their reaction when you first told them this idea of what you wanted to do?
My kids were too young to even know what's going on. I think my youngest one was 1, and then my older one was 3. My wife, she kind of was a little clueless. She understood the concept of it, but she didn't really grasp the whole concept of people driving up, tuning their radio, watching a few songs, and then leaving. She thought it was kind of odd to why we got to keep the lights off in the living room. We can't watch TV during those times then, or, that sort of stuff. And when she first saw her picture in the Tribune Herald, she was like, oh, this is great. People kind of complimented, but still she didn't really enjoy. I guess it wasn't really joyful at that point. But when more and more people, her coworkers, kind of started to appreciate what we were doing, then that's when my wife kind of turned a new leaf, I guess, and appreciated, what the whole light show has for the community. And then that's when she matured into the hobby. she's been very supportive of it ever since. The Oshiro family Christmas kind of thing, and people really compliment my wife because she works at Walmart. She's more visible out in the community than I am. So my kids, they're really young. I mean, 1 and 3. And then as they grew older, then their classmates were the ones that would be asking them about it. Like, oh, when is your light show going to start? And is there going to be anything different or whatever? Then that's when my kids kind of, when they were in elementary school, then that's when they appreciated it a lot more.
I guess when you see how well it affects the community, you have that direct feedback. You kind of understand it affects people's lives, right? They get a chance to hang out with family, hang out with friends, and spend time together, watching this show. And you don't always have that opportunity. So you created that opportunity for them.
Yes. I mean, that probably the driving motivation for me to keep continuing and doing this, because it's not a cheap hobby. It does take up a lot of time. But it is nice when you see families come by. I mean, they bust out the plastic table right outside of the tailgate of their truck, and then they're like eating dinner and whatnot. I mean, some of them, they have like a birthday cake. They're singing happy birthday while the light show is going on. And you realize that, it's an important venue for other families too. So it's heartwarming, very rewarding to see. And that's one of the reasons why I want to keep it free. I don't want to charge admission or require people to donate, especially at a time like this where most families, they have other expenditures, right? They're going shopping for gifts. The funny story is on how I actually got into fundraising for a food basket was the first year that we were out there directing traffic in 2010. There were a lot of people who were adamant trying to give me money, saying, oh, here, take this money, pay for your bills, your electric bill, or pay for more lights or whatever. And I didn't want to accept anything, because the moment you start profiting on something like this, it might turn the light show into something else. It might turn it into a business or whatnot, so it won't have the same feel. That's why I didn't want to accept the money. But some people absolutely didn't want to leave until I took donations. So I was thinking, instead of collecting cash, I mean, maybe I can just have them give food. Maybe they can just give that one can of Vienna sausage or whatever, and they'll feel good, right, that they're giving to a needy cause without the need or the requirement of giving a monetary type donation. That's the whole reason why I selected the food basket.
So you kind of like do a double-edged thing here that helps the community. The community gets to watch like a show, spend time with friends and family for free, right? And
yes.
You also are helping the food basket help those that are really in need, especially during the holiday season. So it's just like a positive. So why not go watch the show, and why not donate? Because it helps in many different ways, right?
Yes.
One of the things that I noticed when I was watching the show, so you have like the whole house covered with lights. Even your garage is covered too. During the nighttime when the show is going, like, what do you guys do? If you open that garage door and you drive out, it kind of messes up the show, right, in certain parts. So what do you do, for instance, hey, I really got to go KTA, got to go shopping tonight, but the light show's going on. So what do you guys do at that point?
Well, one of my wife's car is in the garage parked. The door is closed. It will stay closed for the duration of the light show. If she does have to run out for whatever reason, then we have another car that's parked in the back. She'll jump in that and then leave and then come back and park it there and then go in through the house through the back door. So we have it kind of planned out that way. The actual garage door is not covered with any lights, so it's actually a working garage door. Front door to enter the house, that door is covered in lights, or we actually call them pixels. But I have it set up on the door in a way that you can still use the front door. You can open and close the door.
It's modernized. It's just not those Christmas lights anymore. They're actually pixel panels, right?
Yes. It's a lot easier for me with the pixels, because with the traditional lights, the weight of the extension cords that I store up in my attic, that's how I injured my back 5 years ago. And they're like 60 pounds of each bin, and I must have like a dozen bins of extension cord. Yeah, with the old traditional lights, I actually had over a mile worth of extension cords, custom extension cords that I built.
Yeah, those are like, because we do events and weddings, and we do like uplighting and stuff for events, and it seems like those extension cord bins, they're the heaviest, right?
Yeah.
That's the one that I dread carrying to the vehicle, actually. It's really heavy, so I can imagine a mile long how much weight that would be.
Yeah, hundreds of pounds I have to bring up and down from the attic.
during the nighttime and we're watching the show, how do we not see you guys through the windows? What do you guys do? Like, do you guys still kind of hide from the front of the house?
Well, my family has the drapes closed, so they do whatever they do. They'll be in the living room watching TV or whatever. I'm physically outside with my neighbor, Kit Carson, who's across the street from me. We both do traffic control every night for the month of December. And then on the peak nights, when public school gets out, which is December 17 this year, all the way up through December 25. And that's when my family will be out with me and Kit directing traffic.
Wow, so you're working hard then. Pretty much every night then you're working, right?
Yes.
So do you go to your day job first and then...
Yes.
Wow. So what times do you start your job in the daytime?
I start about 7:30 in the morning, and then I finish about 4. And then around 4 is when I start prepping for the light show. Not necessarily anything dealing with the lights outside. It might be recharging batteries for the flashlight or for the walkie-talkies, getting snacks ready, drinks ready for me and Kit, that sort of stuff. So I'm getting ready from between 4 and 6:30. I'm getting ready for that. I normally eat dinner after the light show is over.
Are you kidding? So you eat dinner like after 9 or even some days after 10?
Yeah. There are some nights where we extend to 11 because the traffic is so backed out. But we do it case by case, depending on that particular night. If there's just a crazy long line of cars, 40 or plus cars waiting in line near 10 o'clock, then I'll extend it to 11.
Since you start the day so early, like at 7:30, don't you get tired by like at 9 o'clock? Do you take a lot of energy drinks or how do you stay awake? Because that is an extremely long day.
Yeah, especially for when school gets out that week of Christmas. Yeah, that's when I need the caffeine. It's bad because sometimes I'm at work and I'm dozing off at the computer because it's just running around. We park each car individually because it's pitch dark here.
Uh-huh.
There's no street lights, so sometimes we'll escort each car out because we don't want anyone to get banged. I mean, it might be kids running around. That's why we try to caution parents.
You're a very hard worker, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, not just me, but also my neighbor Kit. I mean, he comes out and directs traffic every night. So that's a plus for me because by the second or third night that my wife and them are out there helping me direct traffic, yeah, they get grumpy and they're only out there for 2 or 3 nights. And me and Kit, we were out there from beginning of December.
Not only your days are long during the Puna light shows, but it must be a whole year, right? Because what is the process like? What month do you start putting these shows together or even prepping the light shows?
I typically do planning and building of new props in September. Early September through November is when I start building new props and designing stuff. That's when I kind of talk to my wife and kind of figure out, what should we change anything this year? Should we add stuff? And then November 1 through the early part of December is when I'm physically putting stuff out in the yard and on the house. Even after I take down the display in early January, I'm still fiddling with figuring out, what can I add for the coming year or whatnot. So in January and February, I'm still kind of playing with Christmas lights.
Oh, so it's pretty much the whole year you're getting ideas.
I have a notepad that sometimes I'll just jot down notes middle of the year if I come across something that I think might be good to do and kind of look back at it in September.
Yeah, because I notice a lot of the shows that you do, it's different every year, and it has a lot of pop culture references. It even goes back to Star Wars and modern things. I remember there was Baby Shark and all of that too, right?
Yeah, so I kind of look at what's kind of popular and then maybe see, should I add that one particular song from the weekend or whatever that influences my song choices. Of course, sometimes my wife would tell me, you should add so-and-so or whatever. Then I'll look into doing that as well.
I know you have to build that all on the computer. When is your deadline that you usually give yourself to have this song list and all of the shows all built?
That's a good question, and I'm glad you asked that because my coworkers would ask me, when is the best time to come to watch your light show? And I would tell them, beginning of December is the best if you don't want to wait in traffic. But the problem is you're only going to see maybe 4 or 5 songs. And then I'm slowly working on new songs throughout the entire month of December. Every couple of days, I would add a new song to the lineup. So the light show list actually grows as the days go by in December. So right after I'm done directing traffic, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, depending on what part of the month it is. I come in, I eat dinner, and then I stay up till maybe about 1 in the morning. I'm trying to program new music. So right now my song playlist is only about 30 minutes long. And by the time you get to December, it will be almost about an hour long.
So if you watched it like at the beginning of December and then you went back to watch it perhaps maybe after Christmas, you're going to see like a whole different expanded show then.
Yes, you're going to see a lot more songs.
That is a long day, man.
Yeah, and then the weekends, because I'm not working my regular job, then from the time I wake up in the morning at 8 o'clock, I'm synchronizing new music all the way till about 4:30 to 5 p.m.
At the beginning of December, you have 5 songs. So on average, at the end of December, how much songs do you have in that list?
Maybe 9 or 10.
That's a huge add-on. Yeah. Because I guess people don't realize too, like when you have to build that. So you have these panels, right? And it's all, you have the computer connected to it. So it's pixels. So basically you build these pixels, right? If I'm not mistaken?
Correct. Yeah.
So how long does it take you to build a light show per song?
If you had a song that was 1 minute long, it would take me about 5 hours.
5 hours per minute then?
So right now I'm working on Cha-Cha Slide from DJ Casper, and that song is, I think, almost 5 minutes. So I'm not done yet. I'm trying to get that song ready for this Friday when the school gets out, because the kids love that.
25 hours, that's definitely a labor of love. You might actually see them get out of the car and dance to that song too, right?
Yeah, I actually had this song back in, I think it was 2010 through 2012, I think I had that song, and that was by far the most popular. I don't like to have the same songs every year. I retire a lot of songs, and that was one of the songs that I retired. I thought I was going to retire permanently, but I went to a wedding earlier this year, and when they played that song, almost the entire crowd of people watching went up to dance, and I was like, oh wow, I think I got to bring this song back. And my older daughter said, yeah, you should.
Anytime during this whole process of Puna Lights, when you first started in 2008 all the way until 2021, was there ever a time that you ran into like some type of setback, or even something that just says, what did I get myself into, right, with all that work?
Multiple times. I think every year I come up to that moment. It's during the physical setup of the lights on the house, whether it's back then it was the old traditional stuff or the new pixel stuff. I mean, I get to the point that it is so close to go live time that I'm not ready. I always have a problem. I wired something backwards, or something's not set up right. It's not working. And I'm like, I want to just send out a notice to the Puna Lights fans saying, sorry, I don't want to do it this year. I get that close. But of course, it's just a tiny little frustration that pops in my brain and then leaves like 30 seconds after. I also get into that moment when doing traffic control, and then my wife, them are frustrated because there's a long line of cars or whatever. And my wife's frustration, it kind of affects me differently than other people's frustrations. Then I'm like, should I keep moving, or should I sell all the equipment and maybe have somebody else with the stress do it? Next thing you know, I'm all happy, like, oh, it's a good thing to have for the community. I should keep doing it, that sort of thing. But it does come to me every year, at least twice a year. I get that train of thought, like, what did I get myself into?
I'm looking at one of your posts here on Facebook in November 16, slow process, and I'm 2 weeks behind. So I guess during that time, you did let everybody know that you're a little bit behind.
This year was more stressful for me because my older daughter was on the air riflery team, and air riflery practice was almost every night, and it takes a lot of time to help my daughter with that and take her back and forth to practice and help her practice at home as well. And that really caused the 2-week delay. I guess it's a good thing for Facebook because I can look at years past and I can see the progress at that point in time. Middle of November, where was I last year or the year before? And I can look, and then that's when November 16, I noticed, I should have been done with all this weeks ago.
If people are not following you on Facebook, I would say please do, because you get to see all of the, I guess it's kind of like light panels, and it looks like it's on mesh. So you get to see pictures of the process of you putting that on and all of that hard work. You even show your neighbor. Is that Kit? Kit, yeah, mowing the grass. There's a photo of him here.
Yeah. He helps me out doing my chores, stuff that I'll be doing. Even inside of my yard, he's mowing my grass. Like, he would see me stressing out with putting up the lights, and he can tell already, like, oh, he better come in and help me do some of my yard work to alleviate some of the stress. And I'm forever grateful for him, because he not only does the yard care for me during this crazy time, but he also helps direct traffic and collect the canned goods and donations for Food Basket. He helps me do all of that.
Is that only you two guys working at night? Do you have people that volunteer too sometimes to help you guys?
Before, we had a different neighbor that lived 2 houses down. Unfortunately, they moved away 2 years ago. Their kids used to come over and help us do traffic control as well. So unfortunately, there's not that many young kids on this end of the subdivision. So it's just, for now, it's just me and Kit, and then my wife and kids come out during the peak times.
Do you guys look for people to volunteer and help you guys?
I've gotten approached with it, friends and whatnot, but a lot of them, they live in Hilo, and I kind of don't want to have them drive all the way from Hilo to here to just help direct traffic for 2.5 hours or 3 hours. So I feel bad. I tell them, no, not to worry. So we haven't been actively looking, but I guess that possibility is still there. One year we did try to get my daughter's Key Club to come out and help to volunteer, but my daughter goes all the way to Waika High School, so that's far away for those kids to come all the way down.
Your first year, you're saying that the neighbors, they were kind of complaining about traffic, the flow of traffic going through. Mm-hmm. What does your neighbors think about this show now, after it's been going on for so long?
They think it's wonderful because it's community-based. Donations come to Food Basket. And with me and Kit doing traffic control, we make sure that if there is a line of cars, that none of the people waiting in line are our neighbors, because we don't want them waiting. So we'll have, if our neighbor does come up to the line of cars waiting, then we'll have them bypass the traffic line and go straight home. Same if they're expecting company, if they do have a party or whatnot, then we'll escort each of those cars going to the party to bypass the traffic line. So yeah, they're happy with what we're doing. We're making sure that they don't have to wait in traffic, and we're keeping one lane of the roadway open in case emergency services does have to come in. If there is an ambulance or police or whatever have to come in, so we could also have them bypass the traffic. So we're keeping it just as well for safety reasons. I did speak to the HPP Owners Association about it, and they're very happy. Luckily, we have their support. They actually come and grade the road right before the light show starts, to make sure the road is nice, because we do get potholes here from the rain and whatnot. And me and Kit, we try to keep the right-of-ways clean of litter and even from overgrowth. So we keep the right-of-ways clear from Railroad Avenue all the way up onto our house over here. It presents a really nice feel for people coming outside of the subdivision.
Now, as spectators of your light show, what do you like that people do, and what don't you like that people do when they go and visit your property?
It's a warm and fuzzy feeling when they show their appreciation. Great if they enjoy it. Not everyone enjoys it. Some people, they complain about the line of traffic waiting or whatnot. Unfortunately, we only can park about 20 cars at one time to watch the light show. The worst things that we have is people who litter. I understand with that a volume amount of cars, there will be some littering going on, but that's probably the worst thing. Luckily, my neighbors all around here are okay with them blasting their radios in their car.
I think we can all kind of do our part, right? We're here watching this show that's being put on by you, at no cost. And the least we can do is actually, if we're going to eat something, have a bento or whatever, we can take our rubbish with us, yeah?
Yeah. Before COVID, my daughters used to go out and hand out candy canes to the kids in each car. So they used to go walk around, and it's sad to see the wrappers of those candy canes on the ground. But for me, that's just one of my daily duties before I go out to do traffic control is pick up the opala from the ground.
You work so hard already, the last thing we want to do is make more work for you, make you have to do that. Then that way you can kind of focus more on the light show and all of that too. So yeah, I guess people that attend this light show itself, we can do our part and make sure that we keep the place clean, and we make sure, just for other people too, that we keep others safe by not causing commotions, and just understanding that families are there, yeah?
Yeah. So watch your kids where they are. I mean, some people come with a van load of children and they're running all around and whatnot, and that's kind of scary, especially since it's pitch dark. And then people, out of courtesy, while they're driving in and out of the parking stalls, they keep their headlights off, so not to distract other people watching the show, but that can get dangerous. So I try to urge people, like, if your car is moving, then have your headlights on.
What does something like this cost per month in electricity?
Oh, okay. I'm lucky that I have a PV system, net energy metering system on my home to kind of offset the bill. But for the month of December, my bill is about maybe $250 higher than normal, which to me is still worth it. I mean, that's not a deal breaker in terms of putting on the light show.
That's actually not that bad, huh?
Yeah, I mean, especially for less photovoltaic production because there's more cloud cover in the month of December. $250, yeah, it's not too bad.
Compared to how many hours this whole light show is on, yeah?
Yeah, it does help that everything's LED. If I was running more incandescent lighting, for example, then maybe it would be more expensive. Or if the lights were on static, where it's always constantly on, that would consume more energy than if it's just twinkling or flashing or whatnot.
So after the show is done, after December 31st, is it like on January 1st or 2nd you start putting the lights away?
Yeah, I start putting the lights away probably the first weekend after January 1.
And how long does it take you to take down all those panels?
It's like a plastic fabric mesh where the pixels are poked through from the underside, and you can take them down and roll them into a large roll. Taking down is always easier than installing, right? And of course, I'm not on a time crunch, so take my time taking stuff down.
If you could go back for when you first started, what is something you'd tell yourself with this whole process of the Puna lights?
Wow. Oh, that's a tough one. Maybe...
Like, is it not giving up? Because I know, there's times that you want to give up, right, on this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Every year I want to give up I mean, at least twice I would want to give up. But, I mean, I think the whole light show from 2008 to now has gone, I hate to say it, but it seems like it's gone in the perfect direction because I'm getting so much positive support from my neighbors, from the community. I mean, the positives so overwhelmed the negatives, the negatives of me wanting to stop and maybe sell it or whatever. I mean, the positives just so overwhelm everything. That's why I keep doing it. Right now, I really cannot think of telling myself back in earlier years what I should do or shouldn't do or whatever. I mean, it just seems like it's perfect. I mean, so far everything is perfect.
Hanging lights on the front door. It's my favorite time of year. Pull a wreath out of cardboard. It says everyone is welcome here. Grandma's frosting the cookies. She waves at neighbors as they pass. She laughs as I sing jingle bells out of a marshmallow mustache. My little daughter came running up and sat on my knee. She said, "Dad, I got a question for you." I said, "What's on your mind?" She said, "I am not sure if Christmas dreams come true." Thought about it for a minute, turned up Tony Bennett, said, "Love, I think I know that they do." She was asking me how as I twirled around. I said, "Christmas brought me you."
Perfect. That's pretty much the best word to describe. When you talk stories with Stanward Oshiro, it's exactly what he wants. He wants people to spend time with family and friends, to create memories, to sing happy birthday in front of these lights. And that's what's happening every night in December. It happens every year. And people smile, and he loves that. And that is the story of Puna Lights. That's what it's all about. Thanks for joining me. My name is Jase Takeya, and right now this podcast has no name, but it eventually will. So thank you for listening, and we'll have more great stories coming up soon.